Today we're going to talk about cameras. It is amazing to me that over the life of this channel and over the life of my Instagram, I have received nearly as many questions about the camera gear that I'm using as I have about the actual music gear that I'm using. So today we're going to dive into my main camera, as well as the age-old concept of the best camera is the one you have. This is a Sony a7S Mark II with a Zeiss 50mm 1.4 lens on it. And this is my phone. For context, it's the 12 Pro Max, like the new giant overwrought phone. Even right now, we are looking at my Sony and my iPhone. Now, the iPhone is set up slightly farther away because the telephoto lens on it, I believe, is a 55 or a 52 or a 57 millimeter, whereas my Sony is a 50mm prime lens. And so it's slightly closer, trying to hit a very similar focal length, but we're doing this a little rough. I'm going to attempt to color grade them as close to possible in post, and we'll see kind of how they look. What's really interesting is right now we are shooting in the Cine 4 color profile on my Sony. We are shooting in a flat profile on my iPhone 12 in a program called Filmic Pro, which allows you to shoot incredibly high bitrate video. I'm pretty sure higher than my Sony actually shoots, just on obviously a smaller sensor and less impressive glass. We're not shooting in the new Dolby Vision HDR format on the phone because we are not going to be editing all this footage in an HDR environment, and because I'm going to be doing all of my editing in Premiere Pro in post, which does not edit HDR video, especially not on my non-HDR monitors. So there's not really a whole lot to say during this part of the video because I don't know how these are going to look yet. I have not actually color graded any video on my iPhone yet. I've only had the phone for a couple of days, but I just wanted to do this so that you could see that really expensive high-end camera gear isn't everything. I've given the advice for a long time that getting gear that gets you up and running is more important than getting gear that is like the highest quality. For instance, I spent the first several years of recording on this channel and on my Instagram and everything on this audio box USB from Personas that I think I paid 40 bucks for on the used market. And I tell people all the time, this is all you need to get started. And in that same way, when I get questions about cameras, I don't think that the answer is to go out and buy a high-end DSLR. You can get something like a Sony a6200 or 6400 for pretty cheap on the used market. But once again, if you have an iPhone, you're probably good. If you have any smartphone with a camera, you're good, but this is just an example right here of how close you can get, hopefully, between a proper mirrorless DSLR and the phone that you already have in your pocket on a tripod. So we're gonna do some side-by-side tests with my usual kind of recording process right now, shots of the pedal board, you know, the vanity shots as well as the playing shots, and we'll just see how close they can get. So I hope this is helpful. Okay, so I'm making this after reviewing and editing and basically finishing this video. I wanted to come back and add this addendum where we just kind of talk through the results of what we just saw, namely this being way better than I was expecting it to be. We're gonna roll through some examples while I'm talking right here so that we can kind of like call attention to the specific things that I found to be very interesting between the two. But my phone did a shockingly good job compared to the camera that I'm on right now. I'll be honest, this looks better to me. I think that this looks better to probably most people. There are a few factors to consider there, one being depth of field. Right now, I'm intentionally shooting at 1.8, which gives you a very narrow depth of field, very shallow depth of field, which means everything behind me should be pretty blurry right now. It can create a very kind of cinematic, very dramatic look, which is really cool. You have no control over the f-stops on this camera as such, which is disappointing. I don't know why you can control your shutter speed and your ISO, but you can't control your aperture, but it's just, I guess it's just a limitation of the hardware. The glass on this is better too. One of the things that really blew me away is, we'll kind of pull up some footage right now comparing some of the vanity shots or some like maybe tighter shots of the 4K, like pulled in so you can see the difference between sharp lines on my face and on pieces of gear and that kind of thing versus a little bit of that digital kind of blurriness that you get out of your phone camera. Just by turning up the sharpness a little bit in my editing process, I was able to actually create something really close. Maybe we'll split between an unsharpened and a sharpened version of the footage right here, just so you can see that. The color, how close the color got between the two was surprising. Was honestly really shocking to me. Getting just white balances as close as we got before we started filming, and then being able to see kind of how much I was able to do with both sets of footage. I expect to be able to do a lot with cine profile footage on my Sony. It's the color profile I always shoot in. It's a profile I really like. Being able to shoot in that flat profile in Filmic was really, really impressive. I got a lot of control over the colors in that, which I found to be very interesting. The fact that we were able to get so minutely close between the two sets of footage, really surprising. None of this is essential to kind of the online music thing in terms of just getting your sound out there, putting yourself in front of an audience. If you are in that camp where you've sent me a message asking about what kind of camera do I use, what kind of camera should you use, that kind of thing, I hope that this video was pretty useful in kind of illustrating just how much you can get done with just the camera in your pocket. And Filmic Pro is available, I think, on all phones, Android and iPhone. This just happens to have really good cameras in it as the newest phone, and this is actually a pretty significant jump up from my old phone in terms of camera quality. The flat profile and the high bitrate recording is available just in Filmic Pro as an app, which means I think that any camera you can get your hands on should get you pretty close to what we're doing here, which I am really, really impressed with. This was very eye-opening to me. I expected to not love this footage, and I was really impressed with it. I think that this could actually work as I'm going out of town with just a mini board, and I don't want to take a camera, and I don't want to take an SD card reader, and I don't want to have to get involved in my whole production if I'm out on the road wanting to do something little. This actually can work really well for that kind of situation, and I'm very, very impressed. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. I hope this inspired you to just kind of like grab the camera you have and start making some stuff to put on Instagram or YouTube or whatever. So there you go. Thanks for watching.